So this next sentence I am going to say is probably a sentence that Chicago Bulls guard DeMar DeRozan hasn't heard in his career unless you were a Raptors fan in the peak of the Lowry DeRozan days and you were just riding for your guy. DeMar DeRozan is an MVP candidate. And I'm not talking about like, a fringe MVP candidate or a player you throw in with like 7 other people that can quote unquote be in the conversation. We're approaching 20 games now, the quarter mark of the season. And if you were to just take a look at the landscape of the league and who's been performing well through the first 20 games of the season, DeMar DeRozan is legitimately in my top 5 for MVP rankings. I would probably, I know I would have Stephen Curry number 1. I would probably have Nikola Jokic and Kevin Durant fighting for number 2 right now. Durant is obviously crazy efficient right now with his scoring, aside from the Warriors game that he had the other night. Nikola Jokic, as I highlighted in my previous video, if you haven't checked that out yet, he has kind of just taken his game to another level and is carrying the entire city of Denver on his back. And then I'd probably have Paul George in there at 4, considering the ragtag team that the Clippers have right now, especially without Kawhi Leonard. And then DeMar DeRozan would be number 5. And Giannis is probably going to crash the party at some point. He had a 47-point game against the Lakers. The Bucks are fully healthy, so I expect him to make a run soon, and Giannis is probably going to be crashing not just the top 5, but probably the top 3 at some point. Again, it's the quarter mark of the season. This is my quarter mark MVP rankings, and I would have DeMar DeRozan in my top 5 for MVP rankings. So he is an MVP candidate, and I'm going to highlight some reasons why. First, I just want to say that I'm really happy for DeMar DeRozan. I'm not going to sit here and say that I absolutely loved the free agency signing like it was an A+ signing, but I thought it was a good signing for the Bulls, because at that point, the Bulls just needed good players on their roster. They revamped the front office, got rid of Garpax, brought in Arturas Karnisovas as the president of basketball operations from the Denver Nuggets. Sorry, lost my voice there for a second. But he has done a great job retooling this roster, bringing in Alex Caruso, trading for Lonzo Ball with the Pelicans, which, if there is one more dumb organization out there in the NBA, there's a lot of smart organizations now. I would just pilfer the Pelicans because David Griffin is just terrible at what he does. But then he also did a sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan, and he has, to this point, been the Bulls' best player. And Lonzo Ball has been fantastic. Alex Caruso has been a godsend. Both of those guys have taken the Bulls' defense to another level. They have Zach LaVine actually guarding. They have DeMar DeRozan playing the best defense probably anyone's ever seen of his career so far. But if you're talking about the impact he has had on a team to this point and why the Bulls are a half game out right now from the best record in the Eastern Conference, they could have had it last night. I'm recording this after they dropped a 20-point lead against the Portland Trail Blazers. Fun game, by the way. I cannot stop watching this Bulls team. They are so fun to watch, but they dropped that game yesterday against the Portland Trail Blazers. Then DeMar DeRozan should be in the MVP conversation. Now, I know that sounds weird to people because DeMar DeRozan has been a much maligned player because he shoots a lot of mid-range jumpers, but the thing is, his advanced metrics tell him he should shoot the mid-range because he's one of the best mid-range shooters in the NBA and has been for a long time. So I never really got that. I get the fact that he was a poor defender for most of his career, but this is the best DeMar has looked in his career, and he's always been a good player, but this is something different, and he has led the Bulls to a great season so far. So let's start off with the fact that he is averaging 26.6 points per game on really high efficiency, shooting 50% from the field and 35% from 3. He was shooting 37% from 3 before the Portland game yesterday. He was good in the first half, but then kind of, disappeared in the second half. Not disappeared. His shot just wasn't falling, and Portland ratcheted up their defense after they were playing more Larry Nance Jr. and Nasir Little. But it's not just DeMar's scoring, it's when he's scoring, how he's getting the buckets. The fourth quarter scoring has been incredible so far this year. In terms of total points in the fourth quarter, DeMar DeRozan leads the NBA by a country mile with 110 points. The next highest person is Cole Anthony. Shout out Cole Anthony, by the way. He's really taken a leap this year with 95 points. So DeMar DeRozan leads the NBA in total fourth quarter points by a pretty good margin. And he's super efficient in those quarters as well. He has hit big shots for the Bulls so far this year because nobody knows how to guard the mid-range. His skill set kind of intersects with the skill set of the other guards on the floor. The Bulls are probably the best non-Warriors small ball, skill ball lineup in the NBA when you put out Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and whoever is at center. Vooch is probably going to come back soon. Hopefully he could stop playing like 2008 Cedrinis Ilgauskas on offense, but Vooch is still pretty important for them because he is a secondary passer and all that other stuff. But anyway, it's not just the fourth quarter scoring, the buckets in the mid-range. He's taking more threes this year. He seems to be more confident in taking threes. He's more efficient from three this year. He's more accurate, I should say. And he has retained his playmaking that he slowly developed while no one was looking in San Antonio. His true shooting percentage right now is 59.7. It was 60.5 before the Portland game last night, but he's hovering around a 60 true shooting percentage, which is kind of the mark you want to reach if you are borderline elite offensively in terms of efficiency. He's getting to the free throw line. He's hitting the free throws at a near career best 87%. And more importantly, talking about the metrics, because DeMar does have the advanced stats on his side. And I'm not one of those guys who uses advanced stats like Raptor, LeBron, Velociraptor, Tyrannosaurus Rex, or whatever the fuck other people use and create with their own formulas. I just like to use the good numbers like net rating, offensive rating, and all that good stuff because I just think they're better numbers. DeMar DeRozan's net rating is plus 11.6, which is the mark of an elite player and the mark of an MVP candidate. And I talk about his improvement on defense. Now, these numbers are noisy because, again, Lonzo Ball and Alex Caruso usually share their minutes with DeMar, but DeMar has improved on that end of the floor as well. And so the Bulls' offensive rating with DeMar on the court is a 109.8 per 100 possessions. That's per cleaning the glass. And the defensive rating is a 98.2. By the way, the Bulls have been hovering around being a top 5, top 7 defense so far this year. And that was sort of their question mark going into the season. How is a starting lineup of Lonzo Ball, Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, Patrick Williams, and Nick Vucevic going to fare defensively? Because there's only 2 good defenders in that starting lineup. Well, it seems the answer is also play Alex Caruso. Javonte Green has been awesome in the absence of Patrick Williams. Derrick Jones Jr. has been awesome defensively. They do have a bunch of defensive wings they can throw out there. And Ayo Dosunmu has somehow emerged and become really productive as a rookie for his hometown team, the Chicago Bulls. But the Bulls are a plus 11.6 in terms of net rating when DeMar is on the court. Now, when he's off the court, the offense goes to absolute shit with 98 points per 100 possessions. And the defensive rating is at a stinky 112.2. And they're a minus 14.2 when DeMar is off the court. So DeMar gets buckets. He gets buckets in crunch time. He is efficient. He is the Bulls' best playmaker outside of Lonzo Ball. Of course, Lonzo Ball has been awesome in terms of setting the table, the pace, pushing the ball up the court. A ball trademark is just pushing the ball, advancing the ball up the court. But in the half court, DeMar has been awesome distributing the ball. He's been awesome on defense. And the Bulls are marketably worse when he's been off the court so far this season. Now, Zach LaVine needs to get back in the groove of things. He's had a couple of 30-point games now. He's obviously dealing with that thumb injury, and you could tell it's bothering him because he's dropping the ball. He's mishandling the ball. He's making moves that he normally makes, and he just loses it because he probably just doesn't have feel in that thumb right now. But if you're looking at all of the usual categories we like to look at when it comes to calculating what an MVP candidate looks like, how we factor in who is an MVP candidate, and why a player has a case, DeMar checks all the boxes.